This is Dub Revolution. This is Dub music to rock the nation.
You see a man's face, but you don't see his heart. You see a man's face, but you don't know his thoughts. Everywhere you go, there's a man to say love, but never, 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 never take it to heart. For your heart is your heart, and your thoughts is your thoughts. So don't mix love with hatred. For your heart is your heart, and your thoughts is your thoughts. So don't mix love with hatred. You see a man's face, but you don't see his heart. You see a man's face, but you don't know his thoughts.
Welcome people to chapter 33 of the Coronapocalypse sessions with your root selector, ProfessorJoosty.
Everywhere you go, there's a man to say love, but never, 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 never take it to heart. For your heart is your heart, and your thoughts is your thoughts. So don't mix love with hatred. For your heart is your heart, and your thoughts is your thoughts. So don't mix love with hatred. You see a man's face, but you don't see his heart.
We've got Horace Andy opening our session today. This is the track that he played at his audition on the Sunday auditions for Cox and Dodd in '69. It's a great track. What I'm going to play now is a 1977 version by Neville Tate, recorded at Channel 1. This is nice, this one.
See a man's face, but you don't see his heart. You see a man's face, but you can't know his thought. Everywhere you go, there's no one to say love, but never, 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 never take it apart. Cause your heart is your heart, and your thought is your thought. So don't mix love with hatred. Your heart is your heart, and your thought is your thought. So don't mix love with hatred.
The difference in these two tracks tells you quite a lot about what was happening in Jamaican reggae between the late 60s and the late 70s. The rhythm track, cut down by Channel 1, is slowed down. There's much more of a dub influence. But the little known Neville Tate still keeps up with the vocals of Horace Andy. Great stuff.
You see a man's face, but you don't see his heart. You see a man's face, but you can't see his thought. Everywhere you go, there's a man to say love, but never, 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 never take it apart. Cause your heart is your heart, and your thought is your thought. So don't mix love
What a great track, and what a great version. Okay, let's go right back now to the pre-ska days, to the time of Jamaican R&B. This is a track by Cloudy Sang and Derek Harriott, 1956, Lollipop Girl. In his book, Bass Culture, Lloyd Bradley talks about the rivalries that existed in the 50s between the sound systems of Duke Reid and Cox and Dodd, and talks about how this song in particular became part of an incident where they both ended up pulling out guns against each other. It was being played a lot at the time, and eventually Duke Reid 2 years later re-recorded it with the Duke Reid Band, and that's the version that I'm playing just now. Great stuff. Let's stick with the clashes of the sound systems of the 1950s a little bit longer now. Next up is a track that became known as Coxson's Hop, but was actually released in the 1950s by American R&B artist Willis Jackson. The clashes of the 1950s between Duke Reid's system and Cox and Dodd's downbeat sound system were very much determined by who had access to the most exclusive R&B from the States. This was before really they started recording Jamaican R&B and then ska. This track, which was really titled Later for the Gator, dominated the downbeat system for a long time, and Duke Reid was very envious of it and always trying to find out what it was. The sound systems would scratch out the names of the tracks to prevent the other sound systems from getting hold of them, and that's why this track became known as Coxson's Hop. Okay, let's move on a decade and let's go over to Joe Gibbs' studio. Next up is a track called Train to Soulville, released in 1968.
Soul! Catch it! Train to Soulville! All on board? That's the musical Train to Soulville.
This track, Train to Soulville, is a recut of the classic Ethiopians rocksteady track, Train to Scarville, and was put out a year after that track. What I really like about it is not only does it capture that moment of the movement from rocksteady to reggae, it also has in it that DJ culture that emerged in the late 60s, early 70s, which was a very important precursor to the dancehall movement of the late 70s and early 80s.
Now you got to get driven down the road. I would think all of us can take over there how to need your corporation. Soul! Soulville! Do you want more? Soul! I originate why the others imitate. Soul! I sweetie, sweetie, righty, righty, sweetie, sweetie, righty, righty, sweetie, sweetie, righty, righty, triple tilly, triple tilly, do you like right? Wow! Real exclusive! A triple D, triple D, triple D, sweetie, sweetie, righty, righty, sweetie, sweetie, righty, righty. Soul! Do we like it right? That's my musical train to Soulville. Got it? Righty, 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 righty. Soul!
Great toasting there on this late rocksteady track by Cool Sticky. We're going to come back to the early GJ period in a minute, but first let's go back to the ska period of the mid-60s. This is Prince Buster with his classic Al Capone.
Al Capone guns don't argue.
Scarface. My name is Capone. C-A-P-O-N-E. Capone.
Timeless. Totally timeless, that track. Alright, let's move on a couple of years to the late 60s, to one of the first DJs to be recorded on wax. This is Lord Comic with Jack of My Trade from Joe Gibbs.
What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and suffer the loss of his own soul? Like the farmer said to the potato, I'll plant you now and I'll dig you later. You whip, you whip, you whip and you whirl, and you tell the girl that you love the world.
Coxsone Dodd is often credited with being one of the pioneers of the art of toasting and getting the DJs to be part of the performance. His DJ, Count Machuki, is widely recognized as one of the first masters of this art, but he was never recorded on wax. It was people who came a little bit later, but also their rivals like King Stitch and Lord Comic, who were first being recorded before the emergence of people like Uroy in partnership with King Tubby, and then Iroy and Big Youth really turned the whole DJ culture into its own thing in the very late 60s, early 70s. Lord Comic actually refers to his rivals later in this track.
Now since you wake the town and tell the people that your station rules the nation with version, but we have the conversion. We don't play version, we play chapter. Calling you Roy, calling Count Mashuki, calling King Stitch. This is the man Lord Comic, the great record breaker who lives in Jamaica. Says Jack of my trade, baby, I've got all made. I'm sharper than the razor blade. It's Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey. My darling, I'm in no musical hurry. Wow. Like the man of this wedding says, these arms of mine will hold you tight, 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 ever so tight. Wow. Psychedelic sound is on the town, so stick around and be no clown, like I said. Baba dooba daba dee ba daba dooba daba dee ba daba dee. Lancelot Comic KC MESOKS. The senior lecturer in the faculty. So wow. You with me?
This period with the very early DJs beginning this art of toasting didn't last very long, and there aren't many recordings of Lord Comic out there, so that's rather special. Let's move now to 2008. This is Alba Rossi with a really nice track called Kingston Town.
Some man have no man and still a try fi beg a thing. If you no drop no green, a straight up this sing thing. Son a bun traffic, it's a slow rhythm. JCF a move rough, them bust the M16. Some man a drive up and down, them have the latest thing. Machine fits in a them jeans a show off girls and bling. Smell of marijuana round the corner, them juggling. One madman get team foot straight out of the garbage bin. Aye. Stibbling down, stibbling down, it's a rude boy town, it's Kingston town. Stibbling down, stibbling down, it's a rude boy town, it's Kingston town. Stibbling down, stibbling down, it's a rude boy town, it's Kingston town. Stibbling down, stibbling down, it's a rude boy town, it's Kingston town. This a the gunland, blood run cold on the white sun. Concrete a bun, but some parts of your team. Babylon boy, them kill a youth and one old woman a chance. And while a next set a man study rat-a-tat-tan-tan. Them dig more grave than rooms up a Hilton. Small community get washed out by a bloodstorm. Every weekend same routine, one new function. Push them con more dead than 9/11 destruction. Hey,
Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong.
the girl them pants tight like rubber suit. Under them blouse one tiny something hide up perfect boobs. Them always a smile if you got baby eye. Them a go play you one chick if you a mama's boy. It's a tough man town. There's no crown and no throne. It's a go lick you down with a dancehall sound. If you a stranger and you drive, make sure you know the route. You don't wanna get salute by a gun dispute.
Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong. Sibling dong dong, sibling dong dong. It's a rude white dong, it's Kingston dong.
Nice track this, and a good example of the roots revival in reggae and dancehall in the 2000s. Let's move to the early 80s now, to Barrington Levy, a track from 1982, Hammer. There's a nice dub section at the back of this track. Let's stick with the dub vibes for a bit and go over to the king himself, King Tubby. This is I Am the King. see why he's called the King. Alright, let's move to a more recent collaboration between Paola Baldini, Richie Campbell and Mellow Mood. This little dub girl.
I swear, Mellow Mood and Richie Campbell. We say we back from every angle. Julio, Elo, Jacob, I swear. Well, let me tell you this girl. When the bass line drops, she start whining out of control. I tell you this girl. When the one drop bust in her head, she start spin and roll. I tell you this girl. See, she got my attention. Me stop hear the selection, girl. Well, let me tell you this girl. Listen, she and me target tonight. And if a competition, Mellow Mood and ya go fight. Turn off the camera, me no fight the video light. And one gal alone, me a look for tonight. Me little love girl a fit there by me side. So tell all of them and them come out of the sight. The bone there, this dog alone a go bite. The room here too crowded, too full of a man. Girl look for a girl hold a microphone, girl. When the bass line drop, she start whining out of control. Me tell you this girl. When the one drop, kick out her jaw, jump down and roll. I tell you this girl. Say she got my attention. Me stop hear the selection, girl. Well, let me tell you this girl.
It is. Don't wanna carry no gun, don't wanna be no bad man. I tell you this behavior carry whole heap of gal. Cause I'm singing on a stage with a microphone stand. Yeah, no number two, just number one. Reading play soft and the reading play strong. I wanna rule every dance, be the king of dancehall. I wanna be like Ricky Tupac, him this roadie gun. Better Ronaldo against Zlatan, yes they seen.
And this girl, when the bass line roll, she start rolling out of control. I tell you this girl, when the one drop kick out her chin, she drop down and roll. I tell you this girl, she got my attention until me stop hearing the selection, girl. No. Hello, the lead girl.
Mellow Mood twins, them crazy and that's a fact. Well, just can't wait for backstone the cameraman. Truck this a joke, no me not serious but that. Big up the cameraman, time not take no back shot. Well and the man, yo, what was the song about? But remember the topic, Jacob Star from top. Some of them a said them like him, so them shoulda like me. And if I give them a mad over, them a mad over me. From France to girl from Italy. Them follow back a week, we alone set the trend. But me already have a wife and she's name is Selene. She wear the ground. And him when me say me have no pada. Cause she pay man and pay man. Well, and the Jacob made me clarify this. Every time you know to run Selene day.
But this girl, when the bass line drop, she start whining out of control. I tell you this girl, when the one drop kick out her chest, drop down and roll. I tell you this girl, she got my attention to the point me stop hear the selection, girl. Let me tell you about that girl, yeah. You wanna know her name? Yeah. Check it, yo. I me say Bruna, come you know me baby. You know the Mellow Mood twins, them crazy. Man a real man, we treat you like a lady. Me come live in your house and go and make you have a baby.
Me say Bruna, come you know me queen. Why? If me get tired, don't worry, me have a twin. And I say Bruna, come you know me girl. Cause when you're there so we rich, I'm in the area. And Bruna, please come here me darling. I wanna buy a big villa in a county. Make you have 7 kids and pool parties. Fred and Angelina do, why can't we?
No you can't. What you mean? Too many men a sing about Bruna. One girl to a man, that no wrong, none at all. That a no God's plan. Listen, Bruna, let me tell you something now. You hear me? Yeah. So when she whining out of control, that little damn girl.
Nice collaboration that from 2014. But let's go back to the 1970s now and play a collection of tracks, all recut versions of the classic R&B song Fever. First up, it's Horace Andy. This is from Studio One, 1973.
You wanna give me fever. Got to believe her, I could not deceive her. Mama say, yeah, you wanna give me fever. You wanna give me fever. Wow, 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 yeah. Wow, 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 yeah. The reason why you wanna give me fever. You wanna give me fever in the morning. You wanna give me fever in the evening, in the night. Mama say, yeah, you wanna give me fever. You wanna give me fever. Got to believe her. You wanna give me fever. Wow, wow.
A really classic example of the combination of Horace Andy's unique vocals and the slick Studio One production. Let's move over to another production of this. This is the Lee Perry Jr. Biles version from a year earlier, 1972.
I never know how much I love you. I never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get this feeling that's so hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight. I never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get this feeling that's so hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, I'm fever when you hold me tight. Fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Listen to me, baby, hear what I've got to say. No one can love you the way I do, 'cause they don't know how to do it my way.
After the partnership between Lee Perry and the Wailers in the early 70s, which produced some of the Wailers' best music, Lee Perry was looking around for another songwriter, singer, and that's where the partnership with Junior Biles came from, which produced some of the greatest music of that period.
Can you feel it? I never know how much I love you. I never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get this feeling that's hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight, fever in the morning, fever all through the night, fever. Keep giving me the fever, oh baby. Hey, hey.
Great stuff. All right, let's stick with scratch for a bit and go over to the Black Ark studio. This is Leo Graham, Voodooism from the mid-70s.
Wicked man. You are trying your best to put me to shame and disgrace. Yes, but not at all. I really tougher than that. You're trying your best to overthrow me with your little voodooism, but not at all. Why? I don't believe in that. God Almighty is whom I believe in, yeah. God Almighty is whom I really trust in. And He is standing by, yeah. I said you choke an email in my shoes to give me big foot, God. But no, that won't work at all. I said you're trying to stop my children from eat bread, but no, Jah is standing by. I said you give Auntie Mary big belly, you give Uncle Gussie one eye. Coming now to give me big foot, but no, that won't work at all. I said you're trying your best to put me to shame and disgrace, but you shall be my footstool. I tell you, I said you're trying your best to put me to shame and disgrace, but you shall be my footstool. I tell you.
This track has a really nice dub. It's a classic Black Ark studio kind of sound.
Wicked man.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our session, but before we get there, let's move over to another one of the classic dub studios of this period, Aquarius Studios. This next track is called Love Dub, and it's from the Dubbing at Aquarius Studios 1977-79 album, produced by Herman Chin Loy. Herman Chin Loy had been on the scene for some time as a record producer, DJ, record plugger, and working out of his record shop, the Aquarius record shop. The tracks on this album were actually recorded and cut at Dynamic Studios, Harry J's and Randy's Studios 17, but were later worked on at Aquarius Studios when that opened with its then legendary 24-track mixer. Lovely dub that. Okay, to finish off this session, let's go over to Studio 1 and the Wailers. This is a track from 1965, I'm Still Waiting.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for you.
Said I'm my feet won't keep me up anymore. With every little beat my heart beats, girl, it's at your door. I just wanna love you, and I'm never gonna hurt you, girl. So why won't you come after me now, girl? Oh, can't you see I'm under your spell? But I got you go, why, girl? Oh, why, girl? And oh my gosh, the rain is falling, and I just can't stop calling. And I just can't tell the raindrops from my teardrops falling down my face. Look at it, yeah, it isn't really raindrops.
I'm still waiting.
Teardrops falling down my face.
Beautiful harmony singing, lovely love ballad to see us out there. Okay, that's enough for me for today. This is Professor Joosty, your root selector. Stay safe.
I wait in the rain, I wait in the sun. Please relieve me from these pains. Oh, pains, just pains. I love you, oh yes I do. But tell me, do you really love me too? Does the one who loves really feel the pain? The pain.
Do you read me loud and clear?